Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kuli English podcast. It's me, your host, Chris. So in the last episode, so not this episode, but the one before, I talked about the American school system. And also gave some stories about like preschool and elementary school and middle school and stories from back then, childhood memories and stuff like that. And then I think I also did say that in this episode, so like today, that I was going to talk about high school and college and give some stories about those. But the truth is, I think a lot of those stories are kind of long, and I think a lot of people experience a lot of different things in high school and college. So it's going to be really hard to summarize everything into one little story. Whereas I think like for elementary school, for example, it's really easy to, summarize most of it, and you don't really remember that much from elementary school. So it's really easy to just put it into one small episode. But I was thinking about what to talk about in the high school episode, and I ended up coming up with a different topic that's not really about high school. So today what we're going to talk about is kind of like music stuff. And the reason why I want to talk about music stuff is, number one, this is something about me like in my life now here in Tokyo, but I'm going to be performing at like an open mic thing on Saturday. And it's been a long time since I've actually performed any music like in front of other people. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that. And the reason why I'm saying that is not because I want you to come. Like a lot of the people who listen to this probably have, like, we've probably never met. So it's okay. Like you don't have to come. Also, it'll like cost money to go watch that thing. Anyways, so, I'm performing this thing, and I was thinking, why don't I talk about, I guess, playing instruments? And, not everyone plays instruments. Playing instruments meaning like playing guitar or like playing the saxophone, playing the flute or something like that. So I want to go ahead and talk about my experience playing instruments in my life, and then also kind of give some introduction to the people who have never played instruments, and I want to describe it in a way that's easy for everyone to understand. So let's go ahead and get started with that after this short little break. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about the piano. So the piano is kind of like this instrument with a bunch of keys, and all the keys are either black or white. And if you like press a key, then it makes a noise for you. And that noise, that sound, it's always the same sound. So, if you press the key, it's kind of like a button. If you press the button really, really hard, it makes a loud sound, but it's the same sound. And then if you press the button really softly, then it makes a really quiet sound, but it's still the same sound. Like the same button always gives the same sound. And there's a lot of different buttons. There's like 88 of them. At least for a full-size piano, there's 88. Sometimes you have a little bit less if the piano's smaller, or if you're trying to, buy a piano for like a kid or something, then it gets cheaper. But basically, the piano, I think, is a pretty good first instrument for most people. It was my first instrument, and I thought it was really great. Because to play a note, I guess there's not that much skill to play one note. Like you just press the button. I press the button, and I've played piano for 5 years or something. Then it sounds the same as if you press the button and you've never played piano. Like you just press the button and it makes the sound. If you press it hard, it's loud. If you press it soft, it's quiet. But I think it's a really good, friendly first instrument. And not only is it easy to play one note, but it's really easy to play two notes as well. And I promise, I have a plan, and that's why I'm talking about this. But if you play one note, and then you want to try it out with another note, so you want to see how it sounds together, then you can definitely play two notes at the same time. If you really need to, you can use both hands. Maybe you can do it with one hand, but it's really no problem to play basically any two notes together at the same time. And this is so good for random other stuff that's not related to piano. So for example, let's say that you're like trying to figure out, everyone knows like A Whole New World, right? Like A Whole New World is the song, like Aladdin's like, A Whole New World. And then, so there's like a melody part and there's a harmony part. And you don't really have to know what those are, but you basically know that there's like a guy singing and a girl singing, and they sing different stuff. And if you want to figure out what they're singing, you could look it up online and be like, oh, okay, so how do you sing each part? And you look it up and maybe like you can find the answer. But, sometimes this kind of information isn't online, so you have to figure it out yourself. So if you listen to it, you can kind of play along with the piano, and then you can quickly figure it out. It's a lot easier on piano than any other instrument, in my opinion. Like it's much harder on the guitar or violin if you're trying to figure out some kind of melody line, in my opinion. Again, so for full context, I also played piano first. That was my first instrument. So maybe it might be because it was my first instrument that a lot of the basics in my mind take the shape of piano. But having said all that, I would recommend that if you want to play music, I think piano is a pretty good first instrument. And then so I like, I told you my story about this piano stuff. And actually, so I don't know if you've heard, well, probably you have because, this is like episode 13 or something. But in the very beginning of every episode of my podcast, there's like some kind of piano song kind of. So that's all me doing that. So like I thought about paying somebody to like make music for me. But then I figured, oh, well, don't worry. I made music a long time ago and I'll just keep using the same music. So that song is actually me recording. Like I recorded that on the electric piano at home. And then I actually ended up using some other software stuff. Like I used Ableton, which is the name of this one like software that helps make music. And then I added like the other instruments. And there's like drums and then a little bit of guitar, which you don't really hear because you don't hear the full song. But that's also me. It's just a fun little fact about the podcast. So anyways, that's enough about piano. Now let's take a short little break here, and then we're going to talk about another instrument. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about our next instrument, which is the violin. So if you don't know what the violin is, I'm going to try to explain it to you. And this is a pretty hard instrument to explain, so sorry if it's not very good. But the violin is kind of like this like brown instrument, and it's about the size of probably like your chest. So your torso from like your waist up until your neck, it's about that tall. And the violin has 4 strings, and this is the most important thing about the violin. There's 4 strings, and the strings make the music. And you're supposed to put the violin on your left shoulder, and you kind of hold it up, and then your left hand like stays there and kind of like does stuff with the strings to try to make music. And then your right hand doesn't even directly touch the strings ever. Your right hand only holds a bow. And I say a bow, and it's actually the same spelling and pronunciation as like the bow that you shoot, like the bow and arrow that you shoot. Pew pew. Like an archer will shoot a bow and arrow. But the bow for the violin is a different thing. The bow for a violin is it's like a really long stick, and there's like horsehair on it. Well, it depends on like what material is there, and sometimes it's not actually horsehair, sometimes it's fake. But anyways, you have like this bow, and then you use that bow and you use the horsehair part, and then you pull it along the violin strings on one of the 4 strings, sometimes 2 strings at once. And then if you pull it at the right speed with the right power, then it makes a beautiful violin noise. And so that's like what a violin is. And my experience with violin is I played violin like starting from the 5th grade, so the 5th grade of elementary school, and I played for about 5 years. And then I quit after I went to 11th grade in high school, because then I went to a boarding school where like music isn't a big deal. But so my experience with the violin has mainly been like I just did it because it was an extracurricular activity. Extracurricular meaning like it's something outside of school that you do. And then I didn't really like it, but I mean, I was told that I was pretty good at it. Like in my small town in Oklahoma, like in orchestra. So the orchestra includes like not just the violin, but like other instruments that are similar. And then you have like this chair system. And so I'm trying to explain all this in the context of like I'm going to try to explain as if you don't know what orchestra or like don't know what a violin is. And then so like if you play violin in the school orchestra, then like you have this ranking system. The ranking system basically tells you like, this person is the best, second best, third best, fourth best. It's maybe not that good because I don't think it's that good to rate kids and like tell them, oh, you're not as good as that kid or something like that. But then every couple of weeks you have like a ranking check. And then like you go into some room and then the teacher like tells you, okay, play this thing. And then like the teacher tells you like, okay, you're this good. And then if you're the best, you're something called first chair. So you're the very first chair. You sit in the chair that's at the very front, and that means you're the best. And then if you're second chair, then you sit like next to the first chair person. And then like, if you're third chair, then like it kind of continues on like that. But I was first chair for, every time I played violin. So like people told me I'm good, but I don't actually think I'm that good. And that's probably because I didn't actually like it that much. So, I did violin for about 5 years, but I didn't really love it. And, for my story about piano, like I played piano for formally for 3 years. And then I like had my own experience where I was like, oh, actually, I really want to get better at piano. I really want to play this song. I really want to get better. I like piano. I want to make my own music, stuff like that. But then for violin, I never had that. Like I never had this period where I actually ended up liking it a lot. The most I ever liked it was just like, man, it's fine. At least I get to go on a trip or something like that. Like it was kind of like a means to an end. I'm not going to explain what that is, but violin I think is actually I wouldn't recommend violin as a first instrument. And this sounds biased. Okay, this sounds biased because I myself didn't super love violin. But I think this is probably true for a lot of other people too. Like I think most people will have a pretty tough time if violin is your very first instrument. And that's because like to just play one note on the violin, like there's going to be a huge difference between someone who has played for a long time versus someone who hasn't played for a long time. So if you've only played for, let's say, 2 months versus someone who has played violin for like 10 years, like the quality of the sound of just one note, it's going to be a huge difference. And like this is very normal for a lot of things. Of course, someone who's played violin or someone who's played piano or guitar or like done anything for over 10 years, of course they're going to be way better than someone who just started. But at least for the piano, when you hit one note, it's the same note. Okay, whoever hits that note, whatever you press, it's the same. And then for the violin, it's like one note. Basically, you have to spend a really, really long time playing before your one note sounds even okay. Like it's going to sound really bad. And that's because like when you play the violin, again, so let me try to describe it. When you play the violin, you have like, 4 strings. And so go ahead and pick any string, and then you have to put your horsehair bow and pull it along that string at the right speed with the right power. And then your left hand, it might have to do some stuff to that string to make music. And like just pulling the bow itself, like nobody can just get the right speed and the right power on the first try. Like it takes a long time and it takes a lot of experience. And not only do you have to do that well, but your left hand has to, do a good job. You have to like press down the string. And if you want to move your finger or your wrist or your arm, and you want to create something called vibrato where it changes a little bit. So instead of like, it goes like, and it kind of goes like up and down a little bit. And you want that, but that is also hard. So then like you have to spend so much effort to learn all these things before you get something that sounds kind of good. And for piano, like at least, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right? So Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is like, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, how I wonder. Like you can play that on the piano pretty quickly. But on the violin, like if you play that, you can play it, but it doesn't sound that good. And this is a problem because of like, it might demotivate you. So, the most important thing about all this stuff is while you play this instrument, you want to have fun so that you're going to play again like the next day. If it's boring and it sucks and, people keep telling you, like your mom's like, stop that scratchy noise. That sounds terrible. Like if people keep giving you negative feedback and you yourself aren't getting fun from it, then you're going to quit. And then, you're never going to reach that 10-year point where you start sounding really, really, really good. And so like, that's what's really tough about violin. What I don't want people to like try out music and then they're like, oh, this sucks. And then they quit. So if they only do it for like a month or something, like it's probably, I don't know, maybe something went wrong with the process. Maybe they didn't have fun. And like, I want people to see music as like a source of joy. So like whatever you play, you want something that you enjoy so that you're motivated to play it the next day. And violin, I think, is pretty tough for that. Of course, it depends. So if you are someone who really likes the violin, or you really, really want to reach that level of being good at violin and you have a goal in your mind, then that's probably enough motivation. Like even if you don't sound good for the first month, even if your mom tells you sound terrible, like stop playing. Like if you can just kind of power through that and you can ignore all the badness about that, then that's great. Like violin should be great. But at the same time, I think for most people, the average person, like fun is a huge factor of motivation. And for that, I think violin it's not going to be my recommended first instrument. So having talked about all that, let's go ahead and move on. And let's talk about a different instrument right after this short little break. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about our third and last instrument of the day, which is the guitar. So the guitar is also like my favorite instrument, and it's also the instrument that I've been playing for the longest amount of time. But let me go ahead and describe to you what a guitar is, even though you probably already know what a guitar is. And remember, this episode, I'm trying to explain everything as if you don't really know much about music or if you've never played an instrument before. But a guitar is kind of like this big instrument, and it's made out of wood. And it's about as tall as, like, if you put it on the ground, it's about as tall as your chest. And the way that you play it is you kind of sit down in like a chair, and then you put the guitar on your right thigh. So like kind of like close to your right knee. And your left hand holds the neck of the guitar. And your left hand is its job is to finger the strings. So you want to basically use your fingers and put them in certain places so that the strings make the sounds that you want. And your right hand is the strumming hand. Strumming hand, not ham, hand. So you have like a pick. And I don't have a pick here with me, but you basically hold this little like plastic thing and you use it to hit the strings with your right hand while your left hand is fingering the strings, and then it makes noise for you. And you've got 6 strings, so you can hit all 6 at once, or there are other ways to do it. You could also hit maybe just 4 of the strings at once, or you could hit just 1 string at once, and that's also okay. So the guitar is I think it's a really good instrument for having fun. And because it's so fun, then I recommend it as a good first instrument, because having fun is really important. And what I mean by that is, like, the guitar, if you start to play the guitar and let's say you have like a teacher, a good teacher, you don't want a bad teacher, but a good teacher. And I'm pretty sure for most people with no music experience, within like 2 hours, you can be playing along to some kind of pop song. So the pop song that I used to teach guitar in high school, and the song that I always had people play was Taylor Swift's "You Belong With Me." And that only has like basically 4 chords, and they're really easy chords. So if you can play those chords and you play them at the right time, I mean, it's not going to sound great, but it definitely sounds very recognizable. And then everybody knows Taylor Swift's "You Belong With Me." It's like a popular karaoke song if you go to karaoke with like American people. But so it's so recognizable that like everyone can play it. And then when you play it after 2 hours, you're like, holy crap, in 2 hours I can do this. Imagine what would happen if I spent another 2 hours, or I spent another 20 hours. Like, I could probably get pretty good. And like, so guitar gives you this gratification. It lets you feel satisfied pretty quickly. And I love that the most about guitar. And that's probably the reason why I played guitar the longest. So I played guitar, I started in like 10th grade. So technically I've been playing guitar for like 15 years. Now I wasn't playing like all the time. It wasn't like every week I play at least 2 times. Like, I just played it whenever I wanted, because I never took like formal lessons. I just learned everything on my own, like online playing. Just basically I pick some goal of like, oh, I want to play this song because I think it sounds cool. And then I start playing that, and then, maybe I can't play it, and then I spend more time. And then eventually, hopefully I learn how to play it. But it's always been like a fun instrument for me. Whereas like I think piano and violin, it was always very structured. So like I took some lessons, or like there was some competition that I had to go to, and you have to perform at that competition, and then maybe you get like a ranking, and then you don't want the shame of getting like a bad ranking. You want the honor and glory of getting a high ranking or something like that. But guitar was never really about like, comparing or like for competitions or anything like that. It was just like for fun. And I think like fun is a huge like factor. And oh, look, there's a bug. Ha! You dead, sucker. Okay, sorry, I had to go kill a mosquito, and I always spend a lot of effort killing mosquitoes because I hate it when they bite me. But anyways, we're talking about fun being a big part of learning stuff. And so for guitar in particular, like, if you have a lot of fun playing it, then what's going to happen is you're going to play it more because it's fun. And if you play guitar and it's not fun, like, are you going to play it more? Like, maybe if you like force yourself to practice, but it comes from like some energy cost. You're like, oh man, I gotta do this or else I'm not gonna get better, or like, oh, I bought a guitar, so I need to make sure that I practice to make the money worth it or something like that. But if it's just fun, you don't need an excuse. Like you just be like, okay, well, let me go play it because it's fun. And it's actually the same for languages as well. So for languages, like, the best is if you spend a lot of effort, like, from a textbook, and you're like studying words, remembering words, practicing speaking, taking lessons and stuff like that. But, I don't know how fun that is. And if you actually have a lot of fun with language stuff, then you're probably going to continue doing those things. Like fun stuff is very sustainable. You can keep doing it. Sometimes fun stuff is not good for you, right? So like eating potato chips, that's really fun, but it's not really good for you. But language stuff, you can imagine there are some fun things you can do with languages that are actually good for you. So maybe, just talking to people in that language and like trying to use that language. So I'm imagining that for most people who are listening to this podcast, they're already at a level in English where they can probably say most things that they want to. If you have a feeling like, I want to eat potato chips, you probably can do a pretty good job of saying, I want to eat potato chips. And then the more fun stuff comes when you're like talking to someone and you have some thoughts in your mind and you're trying to convey those thoughts. Like, oh, I like eating potato chips, but I don't like it when it's soggy. I like it when it's really crispy. And once it was really soggy and it was a bad experience, like stuff like that. If you can practice saying that kind of stuff, I think that's pretty fun. But you can imagine, if it's fun, you keep doing it, and you want to spend a lot of time doing it because then that's how you get better at it. I mean, you don't have to get better at it, but if you spend a lot of time doing it, then you'll get really good at it. So what I recommend the most for language stuff is you need to have fun with it, and you want to do it in a way that's sustainable. So if you're studying something, like you should be thinking to yourself, like, is this something that is causing me so much pain, and like, is it costing me so much energy that I'm definitely going to quit in a year or two? And a lot of the times when people like start studying, they go too hard and then they burn out. So, I mean, I kind of felt that a little bit with Japanese too. Like if you study too much, you will burn out. And so, you got to take breaks and stuff. You got to make sure that whatever you're doing, it aligns with your goals, and you kind of understand that what I'm doing now is something that I could continually do for a long time. And if you keep it up for a long time, then you'll get really good at it. So anyways, maybe that's a good point to go ahead and wrap up for this podcast. Did I talk about how like the music that is in all the breaks and stuff, including the music that's playing now, it's all original music. So the guitar breaks and stuff like that, it's also me. But anyways, so thanks so much for listening to Kuli English Podcast. And if you like this episode or you want to support the podcast, then definitely feel free to share this episode. I want the podcast to reach as many people as it can so that people can get practice listening to English and stuff. So with that, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Kuli English Podcast.